BulldogsBets.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, our daily look at an area football team and the key questions we're going to be answering about that team in our August 21st preseason preview here at Big Country Preps. I'm here with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom. And tonight, Dan, we've got a new addition. We've got 5 new additions, actually, to Big Country Preps coverage this year. And Miles is one of them. And tonight we are talking about the Miles Bulldogs.
Yeah, and this is going to be a very intriguing season for the Miles Bulldogs, who had a really nice year last year in going 8-4. And they bring a really good group back from that team with 18 of 22 lettermen returning, including 8 offensive and 9 defensive starters. So this is a team with a lot of experience back off of a really successful season. It's going to be fun to cover the Miles Bulldogs this year, and I'm excited to be adding them to the mix.
Before we get started on tonight's countdown show, we want to remind you YouTubers to please hit the subscribe button. And then after that, please hit the bell so you get notifications each and every time Big Country Preps has a new video that we are releasing. And here's a quick thank you to a couple of our sponsors, beginning with For the Love of the Game Broadcasting and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of K-Lakes 93.5 FM out of Breckenridge, 97.7 FM KATX out of Eastland, Classic Country AM 1330 out of Graham, 94.7 FM KWKQ out of Graham, KROO 1430 AM out of Breck, and KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is For the Love of the Game Broadcasting. Also, Rob Durham, sales consultant at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac up in Breckenridge. If you're in the market for a vehicle, new or used, give Rob a shout at 254-559-2266. That's Rob Durham up at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac in Breckenridge.
And with that, let's go ahead and jump in and talk about some of the biggest questions facing the Miles Bulldogs this season. One thing I mentioned at the outset was the experience they do have coming back, and they have a lot of kids back that have played a lot of football, but there is one big position that they're going to have to figure out, and that is the quarterback position, where they lost Haven Brook, who threw for well over 2,500 yards last year, was a big part of that spread offense and the explosiveness they had offensively. So they're going to have to replace him this year, and I think that kind of is where it starts. This is an offense that has a lot of explosive capability. Can Liam Yancey, a sophomore who played a little bit last year, be the guy that takes over and kind of leads that offense? We'll kind of see how that competition work goes out through the fall camp, and then what it looks like during the season. But I think that's going to be a big one. If Miles has the type of season I know they're hoping to have, that will be a very important position.
On paper, Miles looks like it's going to field a better product, and I think that they will. But there is one thing that I would ask about. They only had 4 JV games last year, and you never want to have that few JV ball games. You want to have the kids getting a lot of reps, so they have some experience coming up. Now, how many reps did they really get last year? That young group that had to be brought up. That's a key question. And will it affect them this year? Does it make it look like they're more experienced than they really are? So that's a key question that I would have for Miles, and we will take a closer look at it in our preview.
Yeah, and one final question for today's countdown is on the defensive side of the football. We talked about the offensive explosiveness they have. When you look at running back Tevin Mead, receiver Cooper Ellison, they've got a couple of really explosive weapons. On the other side of the football is where my question is. Last year, they allowed almost 29 points per game. In games where they played the best offenses on their schedule, they struggled at times to get stops. Can that defense that returns 9 starters from last year's group take a big step forward? Because if they can, I think that really opens up some pretty big possibilities for this Miles squad. They got to the second round of the playoffs last year. If they can get that defense up to the level that the offense was at last year, watch out, because this is a team that could make a run.
Their defense was typically playing pretty well against teams of maybe a mediocre stature, and then when they played the teams in the upper echelon, they were getting hit pretty hard. They gave up a lot of points. They won a lot of those games, but they didn't play as well defensively as I'm sure they would want to. To me, that spells that it's also part of the offense that's contributing to that problem. If they're not moving the football consistently against the better teams, that creates more possessions for the other guys and more points. So that is a key question. Will they get better defensively? And then their offense is going to have to play a part in that.
Yeah. Yeah, we talk about that with teams of really all schemes, about playing, how important it is to play complementary football. And that'll definitely be the case for Miles, which has an explosive spread offense. They're going to maximize possessions a lot of times, so that could have an impact on the defense. So I think it's going to go hand in hand. Their offense is going to have to move the football, defense is going to have to make stops. But if this team can improve the way uh, it looks like it can with the experience they have back, it could be a really fun season for Miles.
All right, with that, let's take a quick look at Miles' schedule for 2024. We'll begin with the non-district portion of it. They begin at home against Sonora. That's on August the 30th. Then they'll host Sterling City on September the 6th, and Johnson City, another tough ball club, on September the 13th. This will be followed by back-to-back road games at El Dorado and Ozona before finally getting an open date on October the 4th prior to district.
Yeah, and after closing out non-district with two road games, they open district play with two road games as well. So October 11th, a big one at Albany, a game that a lot of people are kind of looking at as potentially being the district championship, or for the district championship rather. And then after that, they travel to Cross Plains on the 18th in what could be another big game for them. Then they finally get to come home to face Hamlin on October 25th before going to Winters on November 1st and wrapping up their regular season schedule at home against Roscoe, and another game that could have seeding implications as well. So a fun schedule there. And this district's going to be a ton of fun. There's a lot of talent in this district, and I think it's going to be make for a fun race.
Game of the year, 4 miles. What is it in your viewpoint? We'll see if we agree. We seldom do.
Yeah. Well, I'll start. Mine's going to be conditional, which is kind of a cop out, I guess. But if I think off the bat, when you just look at if they want to compete for a district championship, it's obviously that district opener at Albany. That's obviously going to be a challenge. Albany is really a gold standard in Class 2A football in general. So that if they're at that level, I think that'll be the big one that'll decide kind of the ceiling of the ceiling. If they're ceiling of the season rather, if they're not quite ready to compete in that game, I think I look like that Roscoe game at the very end of the schedule, because that could be for the second seed potentially. So the bookends of that district schedule are both going to be really fun games.
I'm going with the Roscoe game. That is at home. That is going to close out the regular season on October the 8th. And I think the winner of that game, I'm not prepared to call Albany anything other than the district favorite and a solid district favorite, even though they're losing a lot of their talent. That's a reload program, and until somebody knocks them off, it's tough to go against them. So for Miles, I think the game of the year is going to be that season finale against Roscoe. I think that will determine a number 2 seed in that district.
Yeah, and in general, I agree. I mean, Albany's one of those programs that you pick until they give you a reason not to, and I don't think they've ever given us a reason not to in Denny Faith's tenure. However, you know that this Miles team is going to be going to have that game circled. Obviously, last year's game did not go the way they wanted it to,
Sure.
and this Miles team is going to come into the season with district title hopes. So that's going to be a fun one right off the bat. And then, and like you said, there's going to be lots of other opportunities even if you do lose that one. So it should be a fun district schedule for Miles.
All right, and with that, it's about time to wrap up the Countdown to Two-A-Days series. Tonight's edition, the Miles Bulldogs. But before we do that, we want to remind you that on August 21st, that's the big day here at Big Country Preps. That's the day that we release our annual preseason football preview, covering all of the Big Country plus some on the exterior of the Big Country. And we'll have more information, a more in-depth look at area football than any other media source. We'll have stats, we'll have features, we'll have previews, we'll have standings, records. We will have, you name it, we're going to have it. We'll have columns, opinion pieces. So please join us on August the 21st. And an added bonus, this year we're adding 5 new teams. We're adding Glenrose, we're adding Mineral Wells, we're adding Toller, Graham, and Miles. 5 new teams. So instead of a base 40 11-man grouping, we'll have a base 45 plus 6-man. So don't forget to join in on the fun. That's August the 21st.
In the meantime, we appreciate you joining us for this episode of our Countdown to Two-A-Days series, and make sure you come back tomorrow. We will be highlighting the Roscoe Plowboys here at BigCountryPreps.com.